My wife always had an excuse: late meetings, gym sessions, girls' nights. One day, I planted a GPS tracker in her car. That evening, she texted me, "Working late. Don't wait up." But her location said otherwise: a hotel, across town. I sent her a screenshot with 3 words: "Who's the lucky one?" She read it, and moments later, the app showed her running to her car. But she had no idea. I was already waiting in the parking lot. I don't even know where to start. I'm still trying to process it all. I've been married to Sophia for almost a decade. We met in college, got married young, and built what I thought was a solid life together. No kids, just us and our golden retriever, Max. We had our routine: work, dinner, TV, sleep. Maybe a weekend trip here and there. Nothing crazy. Nothing dramatic. And I was okay with that. I liked the predictability. I liked knowing that at the end of the day, I had someone to come home to. I thought she felt the same way. Then, things started to change. At first, it was little things. She started coming home late. Not a lot, just once or twice a week. No big deal, right? Work gets busy. I get it. But then it became 3 times a week. Then 4. Then, out of nowhere, she started going to the gym. Now, Sophia has never been a gym person. She used to say she hated sweating, that it made her feel gross. So when she suddenly got a gym membership and started going 3-4 times a week, I was a little surprised. Still, I didn't question it. People change. Maybe she was just trying to be healthier. But then came the girls' nights. "Soph, you've never really done girls' nights before," I said one evening when she was getting dressed up. "Well, I do now," she said, brushing me off. That was the first time something really felt wrong. Because here's the thing, Sophia didn't have a tight group of girlfriends. She had acquaintances, sure, but she was never the type to go out drinking with the girls. It just wasn't her. But again, I let it go. I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure, paranoid husband who questions everything. Maybe I should have. After a few months of this, things between us started feeling different. She wasn't affectionate anymore. We barely touched. She'd still give me a quick kiss before leaving the house, but it felt forced, like she was just going through the motions. And then she stopped wanting to have sex. I asked her about it once, real casual. I wasn't trying to start anything. I just wanted to know if something was wrong. She gave me some excuse about stress. "Work has been insane," she said. "I'm just exhausted all the time." That might have been believable if she wasn't suddenly full of energy when she was out at her girls' nights or her mysterious gym sessions. That's when it hit me. She was lying. I just didn't know about what. A few weeks ago, I was venting to my buddy, Ryan, about everything. "Dude," he said, "just slap a GPS tracker on her car." I laughed. "That's crazy." "Is it?" he asked. "Or is it crazy to keep living like this, knowing something's wrong but doing nothing about it?" I didn't answer. But that night, while Sophia was working late, I sat in bed staring at the ceiling, my brain spiraling. And the next morning, I ordered a cheap GPS tracker online. A few days later, I attached it under her car while she was in the shower. And then I waited. The very first night, she texted me at 8:17 p.m. "Working late. Don't wait up, red heart." I stared at my phone for a long time before opening the tracker app. Her location popped up instantly. She wasn't at work. She was at a hotel. Across town. I felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs. My hands were shaking as I took a screenshot. My mind was racing. I didn't want to believe it. I sent the screenshot to her. 3 words. "Who's the lucky one?" She read it immediately. And then, a few seconds later, the tracker showed her running to her car. But what she didn't know, I was already in the parking lot. I parked a few spaces away from her car and waited. My heart was pounding. A couple of minutes later, she came sprinting out of the hotel, looking panicked. She was checking her phone, looking around, trying to figure out what to do. Then, behind her, the guy walked out. Some douchebag in a suit. He was tucking in his shirt. My stomach dropped. I stepped out of my car. Sophia froze. Her eyes locked on me, and I watched as her face went completely white. She knew. She knew there was no way out of this. "Going somewhere?" I asked, keeping my voice even. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. The guy, her affair partner, looked at me, confused. "Who the fuck are you?" he asked. I turned to him, my hands clenching into fists. "Who am I?" I repeated, laughing bitterly. "I'm the husband of the woman you just fucked in there." His face drained of color. He took a small step back. "Coward." I looked back at Sophia. She still hadn't moved. Her phone was in her hand, her whole body trembling. "I can explain," she whispered. "Explain," I said. "Explain what, exactly?" She opened her mouth again, but before she could speak, I turned to the guy. "Are you married?" I asked him. His expression shifted. It was a tiny flicker, but I caught it. And suddenly, I knew. I fucking knew. I smirked. "You are, aren't you?" His face went completely pale. Sophia started crying. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. I let out a short, bitter laugh. "That's what every cheater says," I said. She took a step forward. "Please, just," I held up a hand. "Don't." I took one last look at both of them. The wife I thought I knew. The man who just destroyed his own life. Then, without another word, I turned around and walked away. And Sophia? She didn't follow. I drove home in silence. No music. No radio. Just the sound of my own breathing and the occasional honk from some idiot on the road. My mind was blank. Or maybe it was overloaded. I couldn't tell the difference. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Not relief. Just empty. I went inside, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and sat on the couch. Max came over, resting his head on my lap, sensing something was wrong. I stared at my phone. No calls. No texts. Nothing from Sophia. She came home around midnight. I didn't move. Didn't even look up as she stepped inside and shut the door softly behind her. For a while, there was just silence. Then, can we talk? Her voice was quiet. Careful. I took a long sip of my beer. Talk. She moved to sit next to me, but I shifted away. I didn't want her near me. She hesitated, then sat on the armchair instead. I don't even know where to start, she said. I turned to her. My face was blank. Start with how long? She flinched. I already knew that was a bad sign. 5 months, she admitted. 5 months. I let that sink in. She kept talking, saying something about feeling neglected, feeling lost, feeling something was missing. I tuned it out, because all I could think was, 5 months. She had been sneaking around for nearly half a year, lying to my face, coming home to me like nothing was wrong, sleeping next to me, knowing she had just been with another man. And I had no fucking clue. I finally cut her off. Who's he married to? Her face twisted. What? I leaned forward. Your little boyfriend. He has a wife, doesn't he? Sophia froze. Her silence was all the answer I needed. I found her 2 days later. Her name was Monica. I had gone into full detective mode. Tracked the guy down on social media. Scrolled through his very curated LinkedIn. Found his Facebook, where, surprise, surprise, he had wedding photos. I sent her a message. She responded instantly. Within an hour, we were sitting across from each other at a coffee shop. She was beautiful. Dark hair, sharp cheekbones. She had the kind of presence that made people look twice. But her eyes? Her eyes were tired. She had already known. Or at least, suspected. He changed a few months ago, she said, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. More distant. More careful. I nodded. Same with Sophia. We sat in silence for a moment. Then she pulled out her phone and unlocked it. I already did some digging, she admitted. And I found this. She slid her phone across the table, and my stomach dropped. It was a photo of them. In Cancun. 2 months ago. My breath caught in my throat. Sophia had told me she was going on a work retreat. I even dropped her off at the airport. Kissed her goodbye. And the whole time, she was going on a fucking vacation with him. I scrolled through Monica's phone. There were more. Them having dinner by the beach. Them laughing in a pool. Them in their hotel robes, toasting champagne. My hand shook as I handed the phone back. Monica watched me carefully. You okay? I let out a dry laugh. Not even a little. That night, I confronted Sophia. I held up my own phone, showing her the pictures. Her eyes widened. You really took a fucking vacation with him? I asked, my voice eerily calm. She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, I was going to tell you. I laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. Yeah? When? After the divorce papers were signed? Or did you plan on keeping me around as your backup plan? She lost it. Started crying. Sobbing. I didn't care. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. You were never supposed to find out. That's when it hit me. She wasn't sorry she cheated. She was sorry she got caught. Things could have ended there. But they didn't. Because the next morning, Monica called me. Her voice was shaky. You need to come over, she said. Now. I drove to her house without even thinking. When I got there, she was waiting on the porch, gripping her phone like it was a lifeline. She turned the screen toward me, and my heart stopped. There was a video. A fucking video. Monica hit play. And there, on the screen, was Sophia. With him. In a hotel room. They recorded themselves. And the worst part? It wasn't just one video. It was dozens. I couldn't move. The phone was still in Monica's hands, the screen glowing between us, but it felt like it was burning into my skin. I couldn't breathe. I had expected texts, maybe some pictures. But videos? That was a whole different level of fucked up. They recorded themselves? I finally forced out. My voice barely sounded like mine. Monica swallowed hard, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through her phone. There's more, she whispered. And there were. Dozens of files. Each with a timestamp. 5 months. Multiple hotels. And this is what made my stomach flip. Some of them were in our house. I snatched the phone from Monica before I could stop myself. Scrolled. Scanned. Paused. And there it was. My bedroom. Our bed. The bed I slept in every night. The bed where I told my wife I loved her. The bed where she once cried about how she couldn't wait to grow old with me. And now, it was in a fucking sex tape. I don't even know what I was looking for at that point. Proof? A final blow? A reason to walk away and never look back? But then, I noticed something weird. One of the videos had a strange timestamp. It was from the night she told me she was at a girls' night. And this part made my vision blur with rage, the night before our anniversary. She had been with him literally hours before sitting across from me at dinner, telling me how much she loved me. The room spun. Monica was talking, saying something about how she had pulled this from their hidden folder on the cloud. How her husband had gotten sloppy. I barely heard her. All I could think about was that these two disgusting people had built a second life behind our backs, and neither of us had any idea. Not until now. My hands clenched into fists. Monica must have noticed because she reached out, her fingers brushing my wrist. What do we do? I looked at her. And then, for the first time in days, a clear thought cut through my brain. We don't tell them, I said. Her eyebrows furrowed. What? I exhaled slowly, the gears turning in my head. Not yet. Because I knew one thing. Sophia and her shitty boyfriend thought they were smarter than us. They thought they had gotten away with it. But they had no idea that their entire world was about to burn. For the next 2 weeks, Monica and I played the part. She pretended she hadn't figured anything out. I acted like I was working through things with Sophia. Meanwhile, we dug deeper. And that's when things got even worse. 1. It wasn't just hotels. These two had a whole-ass Airbnb rental. Monica found the receipts. A cozy little loft in the city, rented under a fake name. They had been splitting the cost, using our money, by the way, to keep their affair comfortable. 2. Sophia wasn't just cheating. She was also stealing from me. I started combing through our finances and found out she had been pulling money from our joint account and sending it somewhere. A second account. One I didn't know existed. Monica found the same thing with her husband. 3. The cherry on top? They had plans to run away together. I found the emails, the texts, the goddamn itinerary, flights to Spain, an apartment listing in Barcelona. They were going to leave. Leave us. Their entire lives. Just disappear. And they were less than a month away from doing it. That's when Monica and I decided we weren't just going to expose them. We were going to ruin them. The goal? Make them think they're getting away with it, right until the moment we pull the floor out from under them. And we had just the plan. Monica invited her husband to a romantic date night. I told Sophia I wanted to take her somewhere special. Somewhere where we could talk about our future. Both of them bought it. Because of course they did. They thought they were winning. They had no idea what was coming. Monica and I had a plan. A perfect plan. We were done being the ones in the dark. Done playing the fools. We weren't just going to expose them. We were going to humiliate them. Monica booked a private dining room at an upscale restaurant. One of those places where they dim the lights just right, where the wine glasses are spotless, where everything screams romance. She told her husband, Mr. Cheating Suit, that she wanted to have a serious talk over dinner. Something to rekindle their connection. I did the same with Sophia. Told her I wanted one last chance to work on things. That I had been thinking a lot about our future. She ate it up. She hugged me. Kissed me. I almost recoiled. She had no idea that this would be the last meal she ever shared with me as my wife. That night, I arrived first. The restaurant was packed, the soft hum of conversation filling the air. Waiters moved between tables, carrying trays of wine and steak, oblivious to the fact that the most chaotic scene of the night was about to unfold in the private dining area. I slipped into the private room. Monica was already there, sitting at the table, her fingers curled around a glass of wine. She looked up. We didn't need words. We were ready. Sophia arrived first. She was glowing, like she had just convinced herself that this was some kind of romantic reunion. She saw me standing by the table and smiled. I almost laughed. And then, right on cue, her lover walked in. With Monica. For a second, everything froze. It was beautiful. I could see it happen in real time. Sophia's face went from smug excitement to pure horror. Her boyfriend? He was a deer in the headlights. Monica was calm. Too calm. She folded her hands on the table and spoke first. Please, she said, gesturing to the empty chairs. Have a seat. No one moved. Sophia turned to me, eyes wide. What is this? I smiled. Dinner. They sat. Slowly. Like prisoners walking to their execution. Monica reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. She placed it on the table between us and tapped the screen. A video file popped up. Sophia saw it. She stiffened. I wouldn't play that, she whispered. Monica raised an eyebrow. Why not? Silence. I leaned forward. You weren't supposed to get caught, right? Sophia's mouth opened. Closed. Monica hit play. And there they were. On screen. In a hotel room. Laughing. Kissing. Peeling each other's clothes off. Time-stamped. There was no way out of this. Sophia's face drained of color. Her hand shot out, grabbing the phone, but Monica yanked it back. Her boyfriend tried to speak. Monica, listen, she laughed. A real laugh. Sharp. Cold. Brutal. Oh, I listened, all right, she said. To every single thing you said in these videos. His jaw clenched. Sophia turned to me. Please. Let's talk about this privately. I tilted my head. You mean the way you and your boyfriend did? Behind closed doors? Lying to my face every single night? She flinched. Monica leaned back, swirling her wine. You two are disgusting, she said simply. And then, it got worse. Because I pulled out my own phone and placed it on the table. Sophia's eyes darted to it. I scrolled through my emails and opened the itinerary. You were going to leave, I said. Run off to Spain. Just disappear. Sophia's mouth dropped open. How did you? You used our money, Sophia. My voice was low. Dangerous. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? She paled. I was going to tell you. Monica scoffed. No, you weren't. Sophia turned to her boyfriend. Her fucking partner in crime. You told her, she hissed. His face twisted. No. Monica cut in. Oh, honey. You didn't have to. You idiots left a paper trail a mile long. Sophia lost it. Tears. Actual tears. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away like she was toxic. We can fix this, she whispered. I stared at her. Fix. I repeated. Fix what, exactly? Silence. She didn't have an answer. Monica's husband finally spoke. Look, we made a mistake. I laughed. A real, bitter, hollow laugh. A mistake. I repeated. You had an Airbnb. You had a fucking bank account. You had plane tickets. Sophia burst into full-on sobbing. But I didn't care. I stood. Looked down at her one last time. You don't get to cry, I said quietly. I turned to Monica. You ready to go? She nodded. Together, we walked out, leaving them sitting there completely ruined. The next day, I filed for divorce. Monica did the same. Sophia called, texted, left voicemails, begging, pleading. I never answered. She had already said everything I needed to hear. A few weeks later, I got a message from Monica. It was a screenshot from a news article. Her ex-husband's company had fired him. Something about a morality clause. I smiled. It's been 6 months now. I got my own apartment, got a new job, started going to therapy. I won't lie, it still hurts. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. And Sophia? Last I heard, she tried to reach out to Monica's ex. But he ghosted her. Poetic, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, cheaters always lose.